afternoon, this is Houndog Steve wishing you a very pleasant afternoon, and it's time for a bit of a vlog and a catch up because things have moved on, and I'm also kind of, for my own benefit, documenting some of the things that have happened and how they happen at this location. Just so I can remind myself. And this happened actually the other day. I went back into my channel and I looked back at a video I made of Jasmine when she was 4 months old, and oh boy, it was really funny to take a little look at this girl when she was just a puppy. So as you can see behind me, the big thing that has happened is got the wood stacked. I've got about 10 cord of wood now sitting under cover, under tarpaulin, and I'm feeling pretty good about that. So anyway, let's take a little look around the property and we'll see what's going on. Okie dokie, here we go. And I don't mind telling you that that was a lot of work. That is 6 rows deep, and it is about 1,400 cubic feet of wood, and if you divide that by 128 cubic feet and a bush cord, that's what it looks like. Anyway, it's nice to have that under cover, and as I say, I can hold this all down with my bungee cords now. But the key to seasoning wood is not to completely cover it. You want to keep the moisture off it, but you want to let the wind blow through all of these little cracks, and that will get rid of the moisture faster than anything. Now, of course, my other big news is, does she look like a girl in love? There you go. Jasmine is in heat, and next Friday she's going down to her boyfriend's for a dirty 4-day weekend, and I'm hoping that we're going to have some puppies in 65 days. I couldn't believe the gestation period for a dog is 60 to 65 days. And so I will take a little video of her and oh, Jasmine, what are you doing? She is just, you can't believe what a little hoe this dog has become since she started to come into heat. She doesn't know what to do with herself, and of course I've been keeping a really close eye on her because she is, sorry, there are coyotes around here. I've heard them yipping down in the valley behind the property here. So, when there's a dog in heat and another one heat seeking, you know what's going to happen. And although I could probably, people would probably buy coyote puppies, I'm sure German Shepherd puppies would go over a lot better. And she's turned into such a beautiful dog. She has the most amazing temperament. She is completely well balanced. She's unneurotic, and because German Shepherds can be a little strange like that, when you get one that's good like this, good temperament, loves children, loves adults, loves other animals, and her boyfriend, another shepherd, is also a very pleasant temperament. He's a little heavier set, a little heavier around the shoulders than she is, but you would expect that from a male. So we're going to see what happens. It'll be the first time Jazz and I have been apart for longer than just a couple of hours. There you go. So there's still a little bit of wood to split, as you can see. A lot less carrying, and I managed big score. I got myself 12 skids, and this is one of the best things that you can stack your wood on because it allows the air to get underneath that wood and breathe from all sides. So let me tell you, getting skids in good condition is like finding hen's teeth. Splitters holding up, but I'll tell you, when you're doing this kind of work, these splitters work awfully hard. So as you can see, my pea rack is not high enough, and they've all curled over, but you can see what an unbelievable producer this pea is. And the great thing about sugar snap peas is if you miss them, you can just wait until they fill out, and you can shell them like a regular pea, and there you go. So I've been very pleased with these peas. I will be seed saving from these again, and I'm encouraging everyone to start seed saving because there was a problem, as you recall, in the springtime getting hold of seeds. Lettuce is starting to bolt. The romaine, though, is doing very well. and thankfully I like romaine. But any lettuces that bolt, you know, if they're a good lettuce, you can collect the seeds off those too. I think I mentioned to you that the onions would survive and turn to seed, and there you go, you can see the seed pods forming, and when you open up those there'll be a little black seed inside of those heads. The Swiss chard is coming up. I need to go through that and weed it again, but yeah, another couple of weeks or so I'll be picking leaves off the Swiss chard. My onions have got kind of weeded in. I'm going to have to dig this over. And I knew that these gardens would be an issue because this is the first year, and there's been so much to do. You know, we're just going into September now. I've only been here, this will be 4 months in the first week of September, and as I say, well, if you go back and watch the first video and look at the condition this place was in, it had been virtually abandoned for 4 years. So you can imagine. And lots of beans. Look at them all. Oh my God. I love green beans. The kale is doing really well. I've got the red kale and regular kale. Beets. Still haven't picked any carrots yet, but I'm sure again in another couple of weeks I can see they've really grown a lot, and they'll be putting some energy down into that root. I have been eating the potatoes, and it is wonderful to be eating my own potatoes again. There's nothing like fresh potatoes straight out of the ground, straight into the pot. And of course the squash have completely overrun everything now. Thankfully the potatoes are starting to die back, so that's not an issue. And I'm just going to let these, this is acorn squash, I'm going to let them run wherever they want to, because I want to get as many squash as I possibly can. You can see a lot of flowering going on, but not a lot of gourd development. And again, these are my yellow beans. I'm finding about one plant will do for a meal. And of course, the great thing about beans, peas, this kind of stuff, as long as you're picking them, they're going to keep flowering and producing beans for you. There you go, a little bumblebee pollinating my dill. You can see the seeds forming. And so we'll have lots of dill seeds, fresh dill seeds, and the same with the cilantro. Lots of cilantro seeds this year I'll be saving. The other ones didn't germinate that well, I don't know whether I mentioned, but so I'm wondering if the seeds had gotten a little old. Now I am really impressed with these tomato ropes. You can see they're about 2/3 of the way up that rope, and you can see the tomato development is just unbelievable. There's tomatoes all around in layers, and the top ones are just coming on, as the bottom ones there, you can see, are just ripening up. But you can see how they're pulling the strings outward just from the weight. So if you can see the angle just from the weight of the tomatoes. But this is prolific growth. And you know, you can see that they don't take up any more foot space than a single plant. And I think I'm going to get more tomatoes off these plants than I did off the ones in the greenhouse in my last house. So I'm very pleased with that performance, and trust me, I'm going to be freezing and canning as many of these tomatoes as I possibly can. So this is the view from the deck of the little Hobbit House, and since that has been now finished inside, we had a workshop here last weekend, and somebody stayed in here, and what an interesting space. This is basically a retreat area where there is no right angles in here, no 90 degrees. So it is a very, very, very interesting space energetically, and yeah, now that it's finished, I think I'm going to be coming down here a couple of nights and just spending the night here. It's nice and cool, it's breezy. It was a beautiful idea that somebody came up with to build a sort of geodesic type Hobbit House. I just love these old-fashioned barbecues. You know, they take a little longer. You've got to take some time, you know, to get the wood there and get a little fire going before you can put the charcoal on and get that going. But I tell you, the taste is absolutely unbelievable. And of course, it gives me a minute to give you a little fireside, barbecue side chat. Okay, so here's an interesting little aside. Up here we get an awful lot of different kinds of mushrooms, as you can see, and this one's getting a little tattered, but one of the ways that you can tell that a mushroom is safe to eat, you see those little dimples on top? That's mice have been chewing that mushroom, and you look around and you find the ones that the mice and the deer are eating, and you will be able to eat those yourself. It just tells you that they are safe to eat. And there you go, a simple way. Now again, I would suggest you be really careful, because there are some very poisonous mushrooms out there and toadstools in the forest, so you really do need to know what you're doing a little bit. But this is an easy indicator if you're stuck and you need something to eat. Well, cheers! Cheeky little beer on a hot day. Now, I don't know about people from other parts of the world, but certainly here in Canada, we're going through an election. A snap election was called by Justin Trudeau, and he basically chose the shortest possible time that you could have an election running in. So the election will be happening on September the 20th. And coincidentally, the rumour going around on the internet is that we're going back into lockdown sometime shortly after September 21st. So we can see that Justin Trudeau is looking for a mandate to push this ahead. I think we can see now by his track record and what's happened over the last 15 months that this is going to go ahead regardless. And I think Justin Trudeau feels that he's pretty secure, because even if he doesn't win a majority, he's probably going to win a good minority or a small majority. But either way, the other parties, the NDP, are right behind him. So he's going to have the support he needs to get this mandate through, regardless of what happens, unless there is a big upset. But you know, as far as I can see, it really doesn't matter. You know, we have a Conservative government, a provincial government in Ontario, and they are just as globalist and lockdown minded as any other Liberal government in the country or provincially. So it seems to me it really doesn't make any difference. What I've been putting on anything that I've seen, you know, on videos and news clips about the candidates is end the lockdowns, end the mandatory masks, end the mandatory vaccinations, and end the COVID passports, or get the F off the stage, buddy. Because that is the only thing that is going to satisfy me anyways from any of these people. But again, as I mentioned before, it's the system that is the problem. So most of these people, these politicians who go into government, you know, are already followers to begin with. You know, they'll just do whatever they, you know, can say to get into the public's good books. And any good politicians that you have are quashed by the system. You know, these senior civil servants, they're not there to do the bidding of the politicians. They are there as gatekeepers, okay? They go to the same universities, they do the same courses, and they are taught how to manage, how to handle their politicians, okay? And it's only the politicians who are completely on board with the mandarins that get to do what they want to do, which is what the Mandarins want to do, which is why they allow it to happen. So I'm pretty disillusioned with the whole process, and so I'm thinking this election I'm just not going to bother. You know, it really, we see it makes no difference. Makes no difference. There were people out there with thriving businesses were shut down just like that by the government and made bankrupt. Aren't these people supposed to protect your rights and look after you? And well, I mean, I don't need to be spoon-fed, you know, but you know what I mean. They're supposed to be looking out for your best interests. And what did they do? That they abandoned that in a heartbeat over a flu. And of course now you see cases are dropping all over the place. Herd immunity kicking in. It doesn't matter what they say. We have herd immunity. Okay, and they're pumping this up, and I was going to say it is so ironical about this situation, okay, that I still personally do not know anybody who has contracted CV. However, I now know 3 people who have died after taking the inoculation. How can that possibly be that I know more people who've died from the inoculation than from the actual disease itself? Go figure. Is that really possible? And it's not just me, you know, because you know I am fascinated. I ask this question all the time. Everyone I meet, I ask them the same question: how many people do you know have had CV? Oh, well, what I heard about? No. How many people do you know? And yet you ask anybody how many people they know who got cancer. Oh my God, they'll rhyme off the name. I bet you every single person right now in North America knows at least 10 people, friends and relatives, who died of some kind of cancer. That's the epidemic. And so CV has now become what they call endemic, which means it is no longer pandemic. It is receding into the background, and this is through natural selection. And why they're bothering to use every letter of the Greek alphabet and now talking about using the constellations. How many varieties? How much fear porn are these people going to pour on the public? So let the fear end. In fact, I'm going to link a video below by Chris Martenson. I love Chris Martenson. He's a PhD. He is a very intelligent man, and he's going to show you all of the charts that will prove beyond any reasonable doubt that the COVID cases are falling off a cliff, and that Norway, Sweden and Denmark all did the right thing by allowing herd immunity to kick in. They now have virtually no CV cases, okay, just regular flus. So why are we planning again to repeat for the 4th time that which has not worked? If it would have worked, we wouldn't be locking down again, would we? Ask yourself these simple questions. You apply a little bit of common sense and you'll find that you go into politics, you're in a clown world. These people are clowns, and they're treating you like a clown, like an idiot, like you can't see that they're clowns. And yet, dare I say it, it's as plain as the nose on your face. Okay? If you can make any sense of what these buffoons are talking about, if you can look at their track record and find any goodness, if you can find any perfectly done jobs that were on time, on schedule and on budget, you won't find one, because they've cocked up everything. And my next video is going to be, we need to cull the experts, because my history, every expert prediction since I was in my 20s, when I was able to recognize and remember some of this stuff, hasn't come true. Hasn't come true. And yes, science has done some wonderful things. We've had some wonderful creations: the computer, the internet, cars, the improvements, so on and so forth, miniaturization. But when you get into the big contracting, oh man, they are just duffers, and they waste our money. And the whole thing is collapsing in on itself, because they've now reached a set of problems which they don't know how to deal with. And when inflation kicks in, they're already saying down in the States, due directly to the payments made by government to individuals, inflation is now running at 6%. And that's just your average. When you look at food and fuel, you're talking 30 and 40% inflation. So you're going to trust these people to rebuild your world? Is that what we're talking about here? Because if you can't fix a pothole, you know what? You can't fix the world. And we need to depoliticize the scientific arena so that we are looking for the truth and not a particular truth that somebody is paying to arrive at. Because you can massage figures any way you want to give them a particular answer that you want to arrive at. But we need to have open discussions about all scientific progress. We need scientists who go up against each other, who argue and hash it out, because our civilization needs the best results and the best answers that we can possibly get. And you only get that through scientific rigor. Sorry to say that, folks, but that's the way it is. And that's what we need to go back to, because we're basically walking off a plank in the mist. We don't even know where the end of the plank is. Absolutely insane. So I would urge all of you to start making decisions for yourself. Look around you, make a critical assessment of the situation. Forget the experts. Forget the experts. Remember, the definition of expert is an X is an unknown quantity and a spurt is a drip under pressure. Or experts, they find out more and more about less and less until they know absolutely everything about nothing. And with that thought, this is Houndog Steve signing off, wishing you a very pleasant afternoon, and we'll talk very, very shortly. You take care now. See ya. Bye.